Where?
Is there anyone listening? Nadine and Irene, did I get one? There's 3 still in the box. That's enough. Put 2 councillors away. Okay. So there's just 1 spare.
Where are they? Oh, here. Hmm?
Check with Coral. Sure. You may not have.
Like the meeting room. Is that it there?
Meeting.
Yeah. So where is it? That one. You've got no attendees. It's not right. Unless you haven't already made it host. So we did this, go live. So that meeting. And so you go to the Zoom program. Maybe it's under participants. Why? Oh, you have to click into that one. Over here? Yeah. In there? In here? Yeah. No. Yeah. Here. There you are. Make host. Do you want to change the host? Yes. Okay. Now with the icon, stop and start. You have to stop it. Well, it's stopped already. If you want to just start it, see if it's working. Start this one? Yeah. Just have a look and see if it comes up okay. Because it, can you stop it now? Because it's there. Can you stop it there? Where you stop it? Here, leave. No, this one. Yeah. Yeah, I've got the Zoom and I've got the. I don't see the. We should see on the big screen. Yeah, we should, but it's not a. Hi. You got the sniffles. Yeah. Listen to the feedback. So I leave the meeting here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Turns off zone 2. Testing. Testing, yeah, no, that's okay. Round that way, just anything. That's much better, because before they were turning it on and it was going as soon as the microphone went on. That seems okay. Just next to that one, that's all good. If we try up the front. You want to just those? There, you hear that? I think it's the distance. You know, when they're too close. Okay. way.
Yeah, you just have to stay far enough away, in fact.
That doesn't seem to do it.
Do you want to say like that one?
Get that one out of the way.
Just hope it doesn't go too dry before sort of launch my stomach properly, but just there's enough to do, I suppose. It's quite dry, like get up in the farm, I can take forward drive. Most places at this time of year will be
You're all right. I'll turn off that one there. If I do that. That's better, you see. It's not picking it up this time. If she doesn't have a name played out, then it's actually.
So it won't do it when there's no zone 2? Ah, okay. It's not doing it a little bit there. But even at that distance before, I could get it to do it when zone 2 is on. But it doesn't seem at that distance to be doing it. Yeah, it's only if they move like closer, which I don't think anyone would do. Is that doing it? Is it making the feedback though? Because that's with zone 2 on even. And that's usually the zone that makes it do it even at any range, eh? And it's not doing it at the moment. Test. Testing. Sound on mute. Okay.
press that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You don't need to
Don't
go
need-
like
no,
this.
okay,
Yeah, you just
speak to
speak,
it.
and the only reason we
declarations of interest, if any. Just want to, yeah, and if there's anything that comes up, just let us know. Sometimes, oh, shivers, that name's in there. Just want to thank everybody for your kind messages to our family. It's never easy losing a mum, but thank you very much for your support. Thank you to council for the generosity of our community. Yes. Yep.
Could we just invite Lucia here today? She's one of our licensed to work students.
Yeah, sure.
Come to spend the morning with Heather.
Thank you. Morning. Campion College, eh? Yeah, Campion College. Right. Minutes 4 to 8. Moved by Councillor Burdett, seconded by Councillor McLean. All in favour? Aye. Contrary? Any matters from those minutes? Pages 4 to 8. If not, we go to the action sheet, page 9. Any updates, Nadine? If there's no updates, we go to Dougal. Mr. Hamilton. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Dougal's going to speak to us about something, so.
Is it?
Yep, thank you.
Kia ora, my name's Dougal Hamilton from Kaiti. A month and a half ago, I was in Tairawhiti at an event and I spent 2 days with a guy who specialised in satellite surveillance. And I'd like to bring to you some possibilities that could merge with your already existing management plan in regards to accurate real-time information. We have 116 satellites a day going over the top of Gisborne. Some of their processes are just visual imagery. Some of them are aligned with water management, transpiration for cropping, heat censoring for law and order and stuff like that. What I've come across is that there is a possibility that Gisborne District Council could launch their own satellite. It's about $300,000. You put all your algorithms in it. You can daily monitor all resource consent, like with forestry, with building, with anything, without having to leave the office or have anybody using transportation going to or from, lowering your carbon footprint. I'd just like to talk exclusively about 2 things. 1, forestry resource consent, and 2, the Wainaki pipeline that I know Josh brought up a little while ago, and it's very interesting. We could set perimeters from the beginning to the end of the Wainaki pipeline and monitor that 116 times a day. We can monitor it for any threats in the area as far as forestry slash up creeks or farmers doing anything particular around the pipeline, all the way down to monitoring it daily for leaks through moisture content in the soil. Heather? I just think, you know, what I'll just put you into the picture is just to show you this quick thing from Google Earth. Every satellite has a distinct purpose. All that the Gisborne District Council has to do is set in the algorithms of what needs to be monitored, and it can be directed to your PCs, laptops, to the right departments and areas every time the satellites go over, so they can get their updates. They can watch everything. You can keep more of a attention to detail. So it's more real-time management. You can actually be making decisions based on the information that was passed over on satellite 15 minutes ago, which helps with making good decisions quickly, but also cutting down on the amount of costs on monitoring the forestry type situations and giving you more leeway to be able to make those big decisions quickly. That's about it, if anyone's got any questions.
No, fantastic, and it's great to that you brought this, because I've known for a while that you can actually have Google Live.
Yep.
And so it's only from a private point of view, you know, I was hoping to have Google Live to monitor things in my business, but definitely has benefits for the council. So thank you for that,
Yep.
Dougal.
Okay.
And I think, you know, that's the future of management, using technology. I can even see like beehives, whenua, rahui stuff, asset management, even for health and safety in terms of my car's got a tracker now, so I don't go fast. And so there's a whole lot of aspects that we can explore. So thank you, Dougal.
There is actually too a commercial range to it where all the growers in Poverty Bay could get evaporation or transpiration on the moisture text to their phone. Construction people can get an update on what's actually happening. Civil Defence can get updated information straight away on gorge openings, road closures, anything like that. All of this information can be either used as in a commercial rate to be able to sell it off, or to be shared as participation.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so normally we get submissions where it sort of disappears in the cosmos, but I think somehow we should actually follow this up. And so Nadine, how do you think we should go about it?
I think we should get staff to, from a council level, to follow it up and come up with some concepts.
Yeah, explore anyway, at least benefits, risk. Nadine?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a program of work currently that we are trying to stick to and deliver. This can be considered alongside all the other technology solutions that we are currently looking at for our science area as well, rather than use this as a discrete area and redirect resources into this one particular solution. We can incorporate alongside consideration of everything else.
Yeah, but I think this is bigger. I think this actually captures a lot more in all of the departments, not just the science part. I think this is, it could be I know it's a resource thing from the staff point of view in terms of time and money, and they do have a 10-year plan. But if that is the case, I think it could be a group of enthusiastic people, not only ourselves, but ECT, some Hort people, forestry people, business people get together and explore what the opportunities for global Tairawhiti is in commercial, social, cultural, economic and environmental terms, and drive it that way with the support, minimal support of, well, the current support that you would give to the project itself in that area of technology and exploration as you have in your 10-year plan. But I think we can have a chat about that and then come up with a plan. Okay? Okay.
From the office, and therefore that means you're not having to run up onto job sites. You're not. It's less vehicles. It's less man hours. And so in actual fact, as far as a business plan goes, it could well be that it's actually cost benefit rather than a cost. And I know right now we would look at all the cost, but
it's an investment in our district. It's an investment, and I just want to make sure that we scope it right. So we need a few more minds from our community to scope it right, so that we actually know exactly what we're doing. Because you can easily get carried away on these things and then do a whole lot of other stuff that are actually not beneficial, that add value. It's really about adding value to what our current proposition is, not only for the council, but maybe for other organisations as well. But together, you know, if there's sort of like an annual fee, you can actually split it. If there's a investment in, I dare say, there won't be much in the capital stuff because it's already in the cosmos, but Dougal did say that, and I've always been keen to have some sort of satellite launch for us and make money from it. It could be one of these projects that expands itself into ECT, Arena, Rocket Lab, and all that sort of stuff. And then, you know, when you do this, once you create the model and own the satellite, I mean, you can still do New Zealand and the rest of the world and just say, hey, this is what can be done. And, you know, it could bring in millions, literally millions. Brian.
Yeah, Your Worship. So the CEO, Nadine, has of course said we haven't got a budget to do this. So I think the first step would be an instruction just to come back with a high level look about how we could capture the potential of this technology. And that would be the first step, and whether that's delivered through council or with partners or whatever, but just a high level look at it, so that's the initial part.
Yeah. But I think we'd be keen to support that exploratory part, at least, yeah, as a council, because it's like really exciting. Yeah. Okay, great. So no, none of those. 10, voting online takes up about half of the paper in the agenda. I think it's been explored before. We were keen, but then it cost 50,000 back those days. And then the government pulled the plug because of unknown factors and security. But I dare say that now they actually use blockchain. It's not about cryptocurrency, but it's about security. And so the blockchain has actually changed the way that security is managed throughout a whole number of platforms, from banking to commercial transactions, to legal, to government departments, and to voting. So that's, yeah, and like the paper says, it really depends on the cost, but we do actually have a cost for elections anyway. Oh, well, floor's open. Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm happy to move the paper. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just asking us to support it in principle, to go have a look, and it's dependent on some things like legislation, like the cost coming back to us. And at the end of the day, we still have the final say about implementation and taking those steps forward. So I think this is quite a reasonable paper. We're not overly committing ourselves really early, and this is actually something that we do need to have a look into. I've received a lot of feedback from Gisborneites and property owners who live around the world who actually can't participate in our elections because the papers get sent out to their houses, which are here, and then to arrange, to try and arrange the tenants or the boarders or whoever to send those papers to them overseas. It's just too cumbersome and something that they shouldn't be expecting of their tenants, etc. Anyway, so this is a smart way for us to be moving forward. The Runanga have already actually been doing online voting for their last 2 elections, and it's been very successful, very secure. I'm not privy to the rates of response or anything like that, but I've found it very easy myself, and the feedback that I've received colloquially from other people that have been engaged in that process have found it very, very easy as well.
Councillor Wilson.
Your Worship, we have to be a little realistic with this as well. You can get a bit carried away with this online voting. You only have to look at what happened in the census, where it's ended up a bit of a schmozzle because lots of people weren't able to fill in their census things electronically. So you can preclude people from voting, so you have to take that into account. So unless you've got a robust system where every voter has got the opportunity, and it might be that they don't vote remotely, they actually go to the same as a polling booth, where if they haven't got the internet, they can go and vote at the polling booth. But those things have to be taken into account, because the worst thing is that you actually preclude certain parts of your population from voting.
Councillor Stokes.
Just an answer to what Councillor Wilson said, and that is exactly why it's not replacing ballot voting. You will still get your ballot and you can still fill in your paper voting, but if you choose, you can vote online. So if you don't receive your voting papers, you will also not be able to vote online. So there's a fault with the ballot paper delivery. But also just coming back to saying there was quite a few issues with the census, and there were. If we don't trial things, we can't iron out the issues that are there for the future. So I see this as a way forward where you're not replacing ballot voting, but you are trialing and seeing if it can be complementary to ballot voting. So I support this. I'm happy to see that we do have the budget this time around to do it. So I will be happy to support this.
Can I say the news, the news only made that they said that the census was schmozzle. In actual fact, instead of 98%, they got 94% participation. It's not bad.
Yeah, but it's a good census, then you need 100%.
No, even with paper, it was only 98. All right. So, I mean, whoever's been involved in census, it used to be quite a deliberate process of making sure that you had to go to the place at least 3 or 4 times to make sure that they filled in the paper and you were there to collect it off them, because a lot of night shift workers and other people shifting houses and that sort of stuff. Councillor Cranston.
Yeah, I don't think it was actually that bad. I was actually good. I was actually reading it last night, and they're chasing up 400,000 people. So that's probably closer to 10% that they've missed out on. So there's a lot of dissatisfaction with that census. I'm still a little bit reluctant on the basis of cost. I think that the 50,000 is a gross underestimate of what it could cost this council. When you read through the document of what the expectation of territorial authorities, providing council staff to do it and doing the risk assessments and all that, I think it could easily go through 50,000. I'd be a little bit more comfortable if, I mean, this is for the basis of the whole of the country's local government. So I'd be a bit more accepting if it was underwritten by Local Government New Zealand or something like that, because it's to benefit the whole. For us to take that risk, I don't think we've got the capacity. And it's not only the cost capacity, it's whether we've got the staffing capacity to undertake a project like this. So I don't see how you could budget that out at 50,000 myself. When you read right through the expectations, there's a lot of things in there that have got quite a requirement to them. So, you know, on the basis of cost, I'm not really that for it. I'd say, well, you know, let it be done, and it will be done, but why us?
Okay. James? Yeah, sure. Nadine?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to make a note that the census is quite different from the online election process in so much as only central government runs a census. I'm just linking this to the earlier comments by Councillor Wharehinga, where we're not necessarily the first cab off the rank using this system. It's actually been trialled quite a lot through the iwi environment. So someone has to go first, and I guess this will be the entree before central government looks at doing something in the national elections. And I'm just sort of making the distinction there. The other thing too is that we won't be conducting this process ourselves. It's actually something we contract out. And so the people that are doing that as our contractors are quite well versed in our online voting already.
Councillor Akahata Brown.
Thank you, Worship. I mean, I'm just intrigued a little. We've just had Dougal come in and discuss, you know, the next framework of technology in this region in regards to satellites, etc. I guess on this space, I'd like to talk on behalf of some young people. This generation are growing up in a world that is fast changing in technology and use, and many of them are using online as a means. Now, Councillor Wilson's right, we have to be aware we have got an ageing population, that this space isn't particularly their favourite space to go into, etc. But we have a number of agencies throughout our region helping the elderly manage this world. So in my view, personally, I feel that it's going to happen. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen. And it's how we manage it. Of course, the challenges will be there, but as Councillor Stoltz has said, we do these things knowing that there are certain risk factors that we learn from. If we are really wanting to see a participatory democracy rise in certain aspects that we know don't, especially with our young people, we have to engage a space that they're comfortable with as well. This promotes democracy. It aids the notion that we will have more people showing interest because we have more people accessing online. Our schools are thoroughly involved in this space. There's a lot more accessibility to the computers in the world of computers now than ever, and that's growing within the school spaces. So I support this on the notion that this is the real world we're living in, and change is inevitable. It happens all the time, and we just have to get on board with it, and we have to manage those risks. The staff are very, knowledgeable in this space, and they're constantly updating their skills, so they will come back to us in this space. So I'm excited because I believe it is part of the next part of democracy for this nation. So kia ora.
I don't think since the last 3 years, I don't think the government's been sitting on their thumbs, sitting on their seats twiddling their thumbs. I mean, there are countries that are already doing this, and mainly Northern Hemisphere countries. Don't underestimate the silver age. They are well into technology, Councillor Wilson, like you. And so there's GizNet and the SeniorNet, and they've been trained. And, I go into Ryman, and the number of people that are actually doing there and talking to their grandchildren and Skype and all that, it's just like, it's like great stuff. And so don't underestimate the older people. But we've got, we'll put it to the vote now. We've moved by Councillor Wharehinga, seconded by Councillor Stoltz.
Where it says the cost being acceptable, that is such a vague statement to make in a situation like this.
Well, I think the staff will bring that cost back.
One person's acceptable and another person's acceptable are two different things. So
yeah, can you make that comment?
We don't know what the cost is going to be, but if you look at recommendation D, is that council gives the final approval. So within that, you will have a clear idea as to what the cost is. So just as additional information, we have already budgeted $75,000 for this trial in this year of the long-term plan.
Okay, all in favour? Contrary, carried. Page 54, Chief Executive's report. Thank you. Provided by Desiree Duploy. Signed off by Chief Executive. Who wrote it?
Everyone.
Oh, okay. I see. She collects it all, does she? Right. So another comprehensive report. And so thank you for those. I had something scribbled down. To Hawaii, page 64, Hawaii Turanga. I'm just saying, re-emphasise that we have a pre-meeting. Have you had it?
There has been a meeting on site with staff, with the residents. Right.
Yep. I wasn't informed because I asked to be involved, but that's okay. I don't mind being left out at times.
You might have been overseas.
No, not yet.
Outcome of the meeting with the residents, with staff.
Through your worship, that meeting clarified that there had been an agreed spokesperson for that resident who we had been speaking to the whole time through. There had been a bit of a breakdown, as I understand it, between that spokesperson and some of the residents. It's anticipated that that dialogue will continue with that spokesperson, but we'll keep an eye on making sure that is being fed back to those individual residents.
So is that all that happened? That you agreed to actually have an agreed spokesperson and they were to disseminate the information to the title holders?
Yes, that agreed spokesperson process had been in play for a significant period. There, as I understand it, the resident who alerted the fact to council has since been updated regularly by that spokesperson. So there had been a drop in comms there, but we're keeping an active watch on that, ensuring that they're kept updated moving forward.
So can I just, for me, I wouldn't mind a summary of, like the information that's shared, because councillors actually get called regarding that. So if we can be all on the same page, along with the residents and the council, that will be helpful so that we can actually help with the process.
Yeah, happy to provide that.
Yep, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, Your Worship, just on that same page, it's interesting, just the local leadership body, it seems as though that's almost becoming redundant now, where individually we would rather have a direct relationship with council. What obligations are we to still progress that body, because that's part of the resource consent with our wastewater? So what's perhaps Nadine could enlighten us a bit further.
So through your worship, the local leadership body is a statutory body that's been set up. So we are still obliged, we legally required to enter into the local leadership body once we have identified and nominated the representatives, or have said that they are ready to form that body collectively with us. We are also, there are other mechanisms through the RMA that requires us to have, or provides a space for us to have individual relationships with iwi, like we do with the JMA with Ngāti Porou. So one does not supersede the other, they both go hand in hand. So we are required legally to have an LLB, and we also have provisions in the various acts to have individual relationship agreements with iwi, and we should do, and that's one of the concerns that they've been saying, is they don't want to be in LLB collectively there will be issues, but individually iwi will have particular individual focus areas.
Yeah, just supplementary to that. So you see the business of the LLB will be different to the individual issues that other MOUs will, groups will have with us. I
think there will be issues and projects that will be different and specific to individual iwi, yes.
Yeah, I see the LLB as a pan, big picture, broad policy group, right? And I see iwi as the kaitiaki, manaki of that particular area, and anything they want to be informed about. And it came quite prevalent in the navigation project, where different iwi said no. Like even building that bridge, they said, well, Ngāti Oni is doing this. What do you think? No, we support them, right? Because that's their mana on that side. And so that's very important. So how are we getting, we had some meetings dialed up with Rongo Whakaata, but they hadn't had the elections. And Ngai Tā Manuhiri actually came to the council as well. So when is that progressing in terms of at least having a first meeting with them? So
they're just going to come back to us with a date for that. Now that Moira has been reconfirmed as the chair, we're just anticipating them to let us know when it's appropriate time for us to meet. But I So in terms of the individual agreements, you can take from that's our progress moving forward, and that the chief executives from those respective iwi have been advised that that's the way that they want to be heading from their trusts. So we will create those agreements in draft, and I think that's another mechanism for which the council and the governance from iwi can meet together and work through those individual relationship agreements.
So they're going to have a staff-to-staff relationship, is that right?
Yep.
And
That's
a
what we're
governance-to-governance relationship.
Yeah. So currently it's CEs working with CEs,
Right.
working through it, and then we'll bring you all together to hui.
So am I to actually liaise with the chairs to do the governance? What is the story there?
I'll come back to you on that, Your Worship.
Okay.
Talk with the CEs about how we manage that.
Yeah, because I don't want the comment to say that, hey, you know, we've asked for this and nothing's happened. Hey. Yeah. Right. Right. Yes, but
CEO or David, what's actually the story with the JMA and the Waipu and the Waipu Poka, who are Accord restoring the Waipu? There's a lot of interest in this in the northern area. There's been a number of meetings which have involved most of those government agencies. One of the things that, one of the issues that has come to the fore, David gave me an assurance that council would have a meeting with stakeholders, which are the landowners both sides of the river. Here it says we've got a planting program. We have all those dollars sitting there that are already part of a scheme. Where are we and what, I mean, my view is, and I stand by this, council is the lead agency in this, and they are the ones that have the rapport with our landowners, the ratepayers. Currently, we have a number of other parties having meetings and making decisions, or supposedly making decisions, without, in my view, any mana. But I just wondered where we are, because this is gathering momentum all the time.
So through Your Worship, in terms of the joint management agreement with Te Rūnanganui, I think it's fair to say that we haven't progressed a number of the actions in there, both sides, because of our resource constraints. What we have been doing, though, through the governance group for restoring the Waipu catchment, working with MPI. So just a reminder that it is a three-party agreement, a tri-party agreement with MPI. So we've been working collectively with them around separating out the functions of the ECFP, or the objectives of the ECFP, because that was actually muddying the water around what we should be focusing on versus the whole work stream around the Waipu and the restoration of that. We now have a new representative from MPI, which is Andrew McConnell, and he manages the Māori unit and very familiar with the coast. So we've got, and we've revised the project plan and aware of the other work that Scion and the likes were doing in the, around the Waipu with stakeholders, and that all needed to come together because it was bits all over the place. So we've just got a revised program of work, which we should actually will bring to council to update you, and that'll give you a whole picture of how the different parts connect together. But I mean, you're right, the council has that relationship with the landowners, and there have been other conversations that have been happening around the Waipu and different projects, but they hadn't really been brought together. So that's the work that has just been done, and then there's a series of actions going forward. So we can bring that back and provide a comprehensive overview of how where things are happening.
Supplementary to that, Your Worship, I guess when all this is brought together, we, the council, will call a meeting of all the affected parties.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the CEO's report, page 58, under Provincial Growth Fund, I see there that it was anticipated a decision made in August. However, late last week on the national TV, some of the percentages were private, they were announced, like Northland getting 38% of the fund, which is huge. Have we any idea what we're getting?
Not able No, not yet confirmed.
Thank you.
But we are hoping that the decisions will be made in August. We understand that there are meetings that are happening in July this month. And so whether there is an announcement in August or in September, but we're hoping that we will have some clarity then.
So supplementary, so why has some have been given? So there's about 6 regions given what percentage of the funds they were going to be granted. So how did that come about and not the others?
So it depends on the tier.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on the level of investment. So for our roading one, because the amount is so large, so I think it's over $10 million or over $5 million that goes to Cabinet. So there's a longer process to go through. And because ours also impacts on our RLTP and has to align with the NLTP, all these transport stuff, it takes a longer time to go through that process. So they have in regions senior regional officials, and they have now got delegated authority to make decisions up to $1 million for investment. Anything over $1 million goes to through another process, through a panel, and anything over another threshold goes to Cabinet. So that's why ours would have taken a longer time than some of the other ones, because the investment that we are requesting is so substantial.
Thank you.
Councillor Fenn.
Thank you, Your Worship. While we're talking about processes, I just wanted some clarification around the representation review. I gather now it closed on the appeals, and that closed on the 2nd of July, and it's now gone to the Local Government Commission. I'm just wondering, what's the process from there, and when do we expect an outcome on that? Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, so all the information, including all the objections in the appeal, have gone through to the Local Government Commission. We have made contact with them, and we're just awaiting a response from them in terms of whether they're going to hold hearings and if and when they'll be doing that. I understand they're still to appoint some commissioners, etc., and working on some internal logistics as well. So we don't have any concrete information. We'd like to think that will be this side of Christmas in terms of finalising the process with them. Did you have anything to add here? That's about right. Yeah, so we have made contact with Gavin Beattie at the Local Government Commission to get a steer on next steps and when they'll do that, but they haven't been able to confirm anything at this stage.
Right, okay. It's just because the community is constantly asking you. It's sort of, nice to give them something concrete.
Okay, we can work on a little bit of comms around that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Councillor Akahata Brown, Councillor Stocks.
Oh, thank you, Worship. Just in regards to the name change, I just wanted to know whether that comms was out to the community around submissions are now open until 24th of August 2018 to make a submission. And so I was just wondering how widely known that was. I guess it's public knowledge now, but just in a space that I'm really keen to see that submissions, etc., are made to that, noting the 4 options, etc. So just some info on that.
So we've done a general Facebook feed and put some information out there. I think one of the partners might have mentioned it as well. But I feel we need to do a couple of reminders, probably in 2-week intervals prior to the deadline, just sharing the link on Facebook as well. I know there are some groups out there that are also promoting it too, but we need to get it out regularly, given it's a national thing that's being run.
Thank you. I just supplementary, so it's okay if I add that to my feed. Kia ora.
I just had a question on page 61 under health and safety. What is implementation of internal vaccination escalation process? Because that sounds like we are going to vaccinate our staff who works with biohazard. I didn't understand that paragraph. If someone can clarify that.
Nadine?
Well, beyond the fact that it's a mouthful, I think it's just really making sure that we're vaccinating our staff that work across the different sectors. If you work in the sewage environment, for example, you need to be vaccinated for certain types of diseases. We provide the flu vaccine for the metropolis of the staff. So it's kind of horses for courses depending on what activity you undertake on council's behalf.
Thank you.
Is it mandatory?
For some things it certainly is, yeah.
Well, okay. Councillor Dunn?
Page 74, under the Whataupoko Reserve mountain biking trails, I just wanted to know, is that park actually for walking as well as mountain biking, or is it solely just mountain biking?
It's designated for that purpose of being used for mountain biking track, but that doesn't exclude other use in there. So in any reserve you can...
But so it's going to be dual. What I'm meaning is that you don't want to be walking in there and the next minute you're on the mountain bike track when you actually want to be on the walking track, because you don't really want to be colliding. So they're going to be running, they're going to be separate walking trails from mountain biking, or we're meant to use the both?
So through your worship, the tracks are going to be graded, so they will have signs that are very clear, particularly those grade 3s and 4s that will be coming down, that they're mountain bike only, and then the ones that are dual use have warnings along them to tell you to look out for cyclists and walkers, dogs, things like that.
Okay, and also page 76 on drain wise, I'm really confused by this, because what we're saying is we've rated the public for $2.38 million, but we haven't spent it. And then we've redistributed it to water supply. I wasn't sure that we were allowed to do that. And I was wondering if we needed to have a workshop or some sort of clarity around what drain wise actually is. Because at the top it's saying it's all about wastewater overflows into rivers, but when you read right through it, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on as well. So it's also saying we redistributed funding for DrainWise to critical capital project for water supply. Well, I didn't know we had any critical water supply projects. So what are they? And are we able to do that?
You brought up a good principle.
Through your worship, the redistribution of the funds were done at the Assets and Infrastructure Committee meeting a couple of months ago on the proviso that the work that was being taken from DrainWise was to be implemented in the 18-19 financial year, so the projects were not taken away. The funding was used to pay for the upgrades that were happening on the Wainaki bush supply work, so we have the issue there with the pipe around making sure that that pipe's secure. There's a refurbishment program of $1 million that's happening on that project, on that pipeline, at the moment. So the funds were used in the last financial year to pay for that, and it was done through the delegation of the Assets and Infrastructure Committee on the proviso that the works that were being not done by DrainWise, which were behind, would be delivered in the 18-19 financial year.
So what you're saying is that we haven't actually reduced the budget to DrainWise, it's just been shifted around a little bit to...
Yes, we've moved the budget.
So in terms of my question then around, can we have a workshop or something on DrainWise to try and understand what we're actually trying to do there? Because it's looking like we're actually doing stormwater work when we're actually, I'm sitting here thinking this is about reducing wastewater overflows into rivers, but it's actually a lot more than that. It's upgrades to the whole stormwater network as well. So is there any benefit in having a workshop so we can have a better clarification on this project?
Yeah, maybe
we have
Councillor Thompson.
Through your worship, we have a DrainWise strategy that's been adopted by this council. So the DrainWise strategic document sets out why we're focusing on stormwater, and that was approved by council to get the stormwater out of the wastewater pipes first, and that's how our project has then been set up to do that. I'm more than happy to bring that back to the council or committee. If you'd like to see what it is, we can present that back to you if you want us to.
I think that'd be really helpful, because I've had a discussion with Councillor Foster, and we're also sitting on the Wastewater Management Committee and trying to get a handle on both of these, and it's getting a little bit confusing for everybody. And I mean, I haven't lost sight of the paper, that really confusing paper I think I emailed you about, where it said if we removed 80% of the stormwater inflow, we needed to do these 3 upgrades to the stormwater system. So while it's all connected, it's quite hard to keep a tab on how everything is connected. And so it'd be quite nice to stick that all together so we've got some clarity. So yeah, paper would be fine, not necessarily a workshop. Thank you.
So with the Waipawa flood control, and that's on page 78. How are we going to, like, the variance is current is 16 million, Minister of Finance, and the estimate is 20 to 35, which is a huge difference in the estimate itself. How are we going to facilitate that process?
Through your worship, what the 16 million refers to is the last LTP, 2015 to 25. When you come into the July, the next report, it will be talking about the 2018 to 28, and those are revised estimates are included in the 30-year infrastructure strategy of the new ones there. So it's a bit of a rolling.
So what is the budget that's been allocated in the LTP for Waipawa?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but over the 30 years, it accounts for the 28, and I believe it goes up to years 12 to 14. And Dave, it's over 16 million for the new 14 years out thereafter, but 20 years. Yeah.
You'll find it out for us. Okay, and when is the resource consent going to be heard? Or have you put in the resource consent, Mrs. CEO?
Through your worship, we're working through with some of the affected parties to the resource consent at the moment, where we're looking at lodging or having a hearing in September. However, it is likely that that will be pushed out depending on how these discussions go with some of the affected parties.
Because it says here, hopefully construction in the summer period of 2018-19. So do you think you can still meet that target? Because this is quite a critical piece of infrastructure that we need to actually do for flood protection, but also the MAR one is actually equally as important.
So through your worship, the team are currently cutting up some pieces of work so that we will have construction happening in the 18-19 construction season. So we've taken out a smaller portion of work that's not contestable to make sure that we will be able to do that while we look at the wider consent for the rest of the scheme.
And the just to say that it's good to hear or read that the Hawke's Bay Regional Council's remodelling has been confirmed after a couple of peer reviews. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Worship. On a different matter, page 59, the Takatai Moana Act, just the last paragraph there, it says that council staff have submitted on the bill that Ngāti Porou put before Cabinet. Well, have we been informed about what any of that is about? Because it's on behalf of council.
Through your worship, no, I directed that question earlier around, to my staff around the process for that one, but because of the time frames within which it needed to be submitted, it's one of these other ones that have to come back and get approved in retrospect. So, okay. So we can get that out to you now, but it covers off some of the things. Generally, the sentiment of that submission is that the council is supportive of the intents of the bill, but there are some areas of clarity which impact on council's business and the additional costs that come with the requirements of that bill.
So in those situations, I haven't, have we heard about it? No. Would be nice to inform.
Through the chair, so the notification that we received from the Ministry of Justice and the issue with the time delays were the incorrect bill being loaded up, so we needed to confirm that we were analysing and submitting on the correct version of the bill. That had been an issue on their end with the same closing date. That's why it hadn't been circulated. But also within that submission, there is a disclaimer in that it hasn't been through council yet, and so subject to council approval, and that will be coming to council.
I mean, even just a quick heads up in terms of a email to councillors would be polite. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Your Worship. If we go back to the Waipawa Flood Bank project, speaking to residents out at Ormond, they were very grateful we didn't have one more day's rain. because out there at some of those banks, they reckon it was so close, it was absolutely unbelievable. So just brings us back to reality, doesn't it? That, you know, this shouldn't drift on. We should seriously, you know, push on with it. Otherwise, they talk about 1 in 50 or 1 in 100. Could be 1 in 1, 1 in 2, 1 in 3. I think we've had a big wake-up call, and we should push with this project as fast as we possibly can. Thank you.
Page 72, Nadine, Titirangi Summit, a lot of red dots. How are you going to manage the matters in those areas of budget, progress and risk?
Your Worship, so in terms of the red dots, the reality is that there is no money to do this project. So I will hope to magic up $6 million and then we can carry on through that. But we're waiting for the, hopefully the PGF will provide us with the money that we need to progress forward. If we don't, then we need to think about alternative sources and have further discussions with council around how we progress that.
And I understand the people of the PGF are very excited with the Titirangi development and see it as a great potential for economic well-being for Ngāti Onioni and our community. Yeah, so that's good.
I think I'm getting confusing with what I'm reading, but is it correct that in that PGF funding we put in, it's the whole area, not just the summit? So it's the summit, because it's the greatest story that's amazing for the area, isn't it? The landing site, the summit.
So there are different components.
But all in one funding?
No, so the funding has been confirmed for landing site. The funding has been, well,
come from different pots.
Be confirmed. The funding has been confirmed from lotteries. We're successful for the bridge. And then the summit is a $6 million project. So that'll take that kind of the whole approach that you're thinking about.
For the funding, are we giving the whole picture of, because these little bits on their own actually don't seem like that much, but if you zoom out and put them all together, it's absolutely magnificent. So we're doing that when
we sell the big picture and ask for the parts or whatever maximum they allow for in that particular funding.
Well, actually, I wanted to congratulate the staff working in this space, quite frankly, because we have got such a wider kind of range of people interested in the moment, from our schools, our community groups, etc. So big ups to the staff in the Titirangi Summit space, because whilst we know it's a natural beauty in its own right, there's been a lot of wonderful kind of collaborative and connection. So, you know, I really do appreciate, obviously I'm on the subcommittee space in this, so I do get to see and hear the reports updated by Diane and the team. But so, yeah, I just think it's another one of those spaces, if we keep the comms up, you're going to get some natural, you know, kind of connection from community groups into that space who want to see the greatness of that maunga, as Amber said, realised. But thank you to the work that's been done. Kia ora.
Thank you. I'd also just adding on to Councillor Akahara Brown, thank you for page 66 and putting on about the external grants, and that's very clear of what we've received, what we're actually waiting on, and what we've applied for. So thank you. That makes that clear for me.
With the Koka Huhua project, are we being supportive and helping the people fill in the applications for that fund? Because it's quite a technical form to fill in for the landowner or the applicant.
Yep, so with that group, MPI, we have 2.5 MPI funded staff. So Kerry is one of ours that's working in there, has been in a secondment type role. And then we have Rob and Ned up the coast. So their purpose is to help work with landowners to identify those most severely eroded areas, but also to put together the proposals in a way that can maximise the benefit of the fund.
And that would be helpful in the, just a sort of a small paragraph to say that we are doing that, because, you know, I get one or two calls and saying, oh, it's so difficult, but I said, well, have you contacted the staff, you know, and contacted MPI, because I'm sure they are very keen in getting that fund out, getting the trees planted, not only on their mandate, but also the billion tree mandate. Councillor Cranston, was it? Sure, okay, we'll add that, Coral. Sorry about that. All right, all agree with that? Councillor Delson? McLean.
Thank you, Your Worship. On page 60 of the CEO's report, it mentions the fan worm on the hull of a boat. Does that get followed up? Fan worm. Hull of a boat.
Yeah, kia ora, through you, Your Worship. Can I just have clarity on what the question is in particular around the fan worm? I didn't hear it.
It was mentioned in the CEO's report that there was a boat that came into our harbour from the Coromandel that had fan worm on the hull. Is that followed up?
So what I can inform the council is that we're undertaking tests of the harbour, and those tests are physical inspections of the harbour in regards to fan worms. We're working with a range of regional councils along the northern east coast of New Zealand in regards to a way in which we can look to have greater awareness of vessels coming into our harbours and the movement of those in respect to fan worms. Does that answer your question?
No, I'm pointing more to the boat that was discovered with the fan worm. Was it followed up that he's had it cleaned or taken care of? Or is it not our responsibility?
It is our responsibility, but I just am unable to be able to give you that information at this time.
So normally what would happen is that if there is a incursion that is found, that the owner would be required to remedy that. If they are moving offshore and moving around to another place we're aware of, we have contacts across our regional council and we would have notified them to then pick it up at their side. But whether it's been actioned is
Okay, Councillor Stoltz, Councillor Thompson.
I just had one quick question on external grants, page 66, the last one, future applications. I'm very interested in very topical subject, the electric fleet vehicles for the East Coast. So are there certain funds that are available to kickstart councils or local bodies to replace their fleets, or where are we applying?
Yeah, so through Your Worship, there's a new fund that's become available specifically for this purpose of having low emission vehicles. I would have to go to the detail of it to answer the question around whether it's just for councils or whether it's been opened up wider, but it was an opportunity that we saw. Well, I think that's somewhere where we want to head, especially alongside with what Eastland Group is doing. So, but I can send the information out.
Councillor Thompson.
On page 59 at the bottom there, you were consulting with the community on the Hikarangi subduction zone. What does that entail?
So basically GNS have engaged a planner to help them with that consultation. They tried to run it themselves last year. I'm not sure. So they plan to seek resource consent for seismic shot holes and the locations of those in August. I'm not actually sure the detail of what's the consultation. I suspect it's around those locations, but basically it's GNS that's going to be running it alongside with a planner.
Okay, Councillor Sakata Brown.
I just, thank you, Your Worship. Just really wanted to thank the staff at this point. I just, especially Heather, we use Awarua for a Ministry of Education review of NCEA. The meeting was held here in the building. Went very well. And so I just was reminded the other day just to say thank you to the staff and for the use of the building. And that's a lot of positive feedback about the building itself. And everyone thinks it's a wonderful space to be able to use. So again, appreciate that. And the library as well. Some really positive feedback from that space. It was great to see my daughter get 2 books out yesterday. Awesome work. Thanks.
Now, Councillor Wilson.
I know I'm on my 3rd term, but I thought I'd just finish off with some questions around the finances because there's no notes next to that statement of comprehensive revenue and expenses. Sure. And that's with 1 month ago at the end of May. And it was a couple of questions. One, where do we perceive that we will be at year's end in the way of surplus or deficit? And the other thing was there's quite a lift in property revaluations, and where was that realised? So those 2 questions.
For Your Worship, I can answer that. We're at the end of forecasting the final for 30th of June 2018 at the moment. So 20th of the month is still occurring. We've still got those processing. We've also got others that may be a little bit later for whatever reasons that comes in. We still have accounting estimations to do and obviously subject to audit changes. So where is it at the moment? We're trying to give you an update by the 2nd of August at the Finance and Audit report of what expenses we've received to date and if there's anything that's late outstanding. Where it stands, it's probably what we've been forecasting for the end of the year position. There is additional costs with regards to, as we knew from the event, June event, we had estimated in this one that it could have been seen in this particular 30th of June up to 3.5 million. The actual cost that we've received to date is about 2.6 million of the roading cost, of which we will receive 83% subsidy from the government. The net effect of that is about probably 400k as our share. Overall, with the other things that we have and the savings that have come through with either special projects delaying that to the next year, the net effect doesn't look like it'd be too much more than what we've been forecasting. And most of the variance is where it comes, unless there is other things over and on top of provisions accounting for that, it comes from the difference, which we have been saying is the capital grants, which then, yeah, that changes. But we'll give you an update on the finance report there, so you have more information at that time.
And the revaluation? Oh,
the revaluation comes at the beginning of the year of most of the utilities, what the asset unit values, and they come with those, and that's just a revision of those prices that, yeah, and that happens. What it happens is a balance sheet item. It doesn't actually affect, it goes to the revaluation reserve. It doesn't actually affect our dollar values, if you like, what we have to pay out, or debt.
But it wasn't printed in the budget.
No, for Your Worship, no, it doesn't, mostly because of those valuations are hard to estimate, and we never do that in the long-term plan. What we do revalue is more of the ones, library books, the minor amounts, because these ones come in and they come out, and the revaluation just affects the revaluation reserve, and it becomes basically the revaluation that we affect in the long-term plan is basically the inflationary rate that we expect that the capital projects or the assets to increase by.
Okay, Councillor Stoltz.
Last quick question about the MAR that we're looking for the 91k. Are we going to apply? Are we able to apply for the deficit funding to be covered, or is that just something that goes up against our books? The stage 1 91k deficit for stage 1 MAR. That is page 75, right hand side, top, stage 1 budget.
Through your worship, no, that we will just have to absorb that deficit. The grants don't necessarily pay, well, won't pay in retrospect. Yeah.
Okay, so Councillor Fenn.
Just very quickly, just like to say thank you for the environmental update and the updates that we've actually had around the flood events and stuff, and appreciate all the hard work that's gone into that. I'm happy to move this paper too.
Seconded by Councillor Cranston. Or, yeah, yes, Councillor Cranston.
I think I could categorically say no, it's not a homeless people's shelter, but the doors are open to everyone in our community and everyone has a right to be there and do the things they need to have a good life. And we've been very firm around poor behaviour, if that's what you're sort of leading towards. And I would say in the last month, that's pretty much been knocked on the head.
I wasn't leaning towards anything. I was just trying to get some clarity about what that was, the wording that was put to me. It's looking like a homeless shelter, so I'm just passing that on.
Thank you. Now the communities of Tiki Tiki and Barker's Hill are very happy. They wish to convey that to you. Now, to add on to that, the footpath and progress of the Sponge Bay to Kaiti School is magnificent. And when you have a look at the width of the footpath, that's from the sort of like Tyndall Road turn off there, and you're saying, well, you could actually nearly continue that right to Gladstone Road Bridge, right? And given the submissions of Rutene Road, because of the many roads that could be closing and the congestion that have been observed by our community, that could be an option. That is magnificent. I didn't realise it was so wide, but when you actually see the practicality, you drive past it every day, how wide that footpath is, you say, wow, that would look magnificent, straight to town. No crossing roads, everything's safe, and you can still have your laterals from the sort of like the fish spine system into the schools of Te Whārau.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just bringing that up.
Yeah, it doesn't continue at that width. The availability doesn't continue at that width that it has got there. It does actually get narrower as you come into town.
Yeah, but it could.
No, because there's a road there. There's a road there.
Yeah.
Yep,
Given that there's two cyclists that I see, there's plenty of room.
Well, Your Worship, a while back it was considered that in order to get, full NZTA funding, that you put it down a state highway, and that might be the best way to go with a cycleway. But the issue that we have on that road is the access into the port, and you're going to create a lot more conflict down that spine.
All in favour? And thank you. Very comprehensive, and hence the myriad of questions. And so I must say it's been very good. Easy to read, easy to comprehend, and when it's that, then you get engagement. Yeah, great. So all in favour, aye. Contrary, carried. National standards and planning. No, we'll finish. It's only another 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, moved by Councillor Dunn, seconded by myself. This is an information paper that things are going to be streamlined and coming and hopefully better. I'm interested in standards versus interpretations. So any comments regarding that? So a lot of, some of our community consenting people are saying, well, it's really the interpretation. So, Katarina. Kate, sorry. Tairawhiti.
Just to introduce the paper, Ministry for Environment over the last almost 2 years now has been comprehensively engaging with local government throughout the nation, trying to standardise a planning approach. There's a lot of flexibility in it, so it's not limited to the standards that they're applying, but they're trying to apply some consistency in plan making across the nation. So we've got these standards that are out for consultation. A large shift is moving to the concept of an E-plan. So if you're familiar with district planning documents, they're usually loaded with maps and rules. So we're trying to move it to electronic, and we've anticipated that in our review of the district plan as well. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, all in favour? Aye, contrary carried. Page 88, our land 2018 State of the Environment type report. I move. Second by Councillor Burdett. Interesting, isn't it? Alarming. 1.75% of original wetlands. So they are precious. They must stay. And also 192 million tonnes of soil washed. And you know what, regardless of what people say about forestry and trees, they have held the land, a lot of the land in those areas.
Can I contradict you there? Even the natural bush doesn't hold the land. How do you think the Poverty Bay Flats was formed? Without the hand of a human anywhere near it for thousands of years, and over a relatively short time, the Poverty Bay Flats were created from natural erosion. So yeah, we have to be realistic in this region. Yes, you can try and mitigate it as much as possible, but it is a severely, naturally eroding area. So we'll keep that in mind.
What do you want to say, Ms. Chief?
It's actually a result of a very long period of afforestation in the region that has contributed to this. We have seen that the native bush area holds together quite extremely well in terms of the coastal area and the coastal environment when we have adverse weather impacts. I think it's a complex situation. We would not have the Poverty Bay Flats had the sediment not actually gone, had we not had the likes of Ebola, etc., and the fertility of that soil. But I do think it's a very complex, long history of issues that the region is having to deal with, and very young geology.
It's good to hear the Minister says, right tree, right place. Right? There are places for native trees, farm trees like willows and poplars, and forestry trees. Anyway, all in favour? Aye, contrary carried. Page 94, Titirangi Summit redevelopment. And we've had presentations in the past regarding that. Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, in terms of page 96, paragraph 18, cut down the knoll. Have we any idea of the sort of height we're talking? Are we going to reduce it half a metre, a metre? Do we know that metric?
All day to work on it. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to be the lowest hill in New Zealand.
Through you, Your Worship. The amount is quite substantial, so it's down to the car park level. We have discussed that with Ngāti Onioni, obviously, as partners in the project, as well as Heritage New Zealand. And because the geology, if you like, isn't original geology, it is fill, they don't have an issue with that. Obviously, there is a process to work through. And what we've found, and you will have read in the report, is that having a building on that fill causes all sorts of stability issues. So it's not future-proof.
So this knoll we're talking about is actually artificial fill.
Correct.
So actually we're not
tampering with the original
yeah,
landscape.
That's a good way to look at it. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah.
Good that it was. Okay, fantastic. So really we're waiting for money, aren't we? And once we get the money, we're in. 6 million. Okay. All in favour? Thank you. Any? Oh yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Councillor Akahata Brown and Councillor Fenn, very quick off the mark today. My apologies. No, I don't have any written questions. Public excluded minutes. It's just only the minutes really, isn't it? Move that we are public excluded. All in favour? Aye. Contrary carried. And now the minutes, moved by Councillor Stoltz, seconded by Councillor Burdett. Any questions, comments? All in favour? Aye. Contrary carried. Coffee. And Rehet, yes.
Quickly, I hosted...
We'll move out of public excluded, move out of public excluded. Moved by Councillor Wharehinga, second by Councillor Akahata Brown. All in favour? Aye. Contrary carried. Councillor Stoltz.
Just a quick 30 seconds. I know I'm standing between you and your coffee. I hosted, on behalf of Ming, about 20 Ormond school kids and showed them around council, and they just sent all these pack of thank you cards. And I thought I'll just read two. And they also had to write, when I am mayor, what will happen. So I will just, dear Ed, thank you for showing us around the Gisborne District Council. We really liked wearing the mayor's chains and having a meeting. It was cool seeing the radio station. They went in with Louise Bennett. We liked the lollies. Thank you very much from Libby. So the staff gave them lollies when they left. And there's another one. Dear Ed, thank you for showing us around the council. The black chairs were so comfortable. I love going around. Hopefully we can go again. And then just two of them where they had to write, when I am mayor, all animals in the world will be set free. Everyone wants money from the people who buy them. I will ban sugar snacks and plastic. People always litter, but they can't litter if there's no plastic. Every Tuesday will be a day off. People will live on farms. They will go to school or work by horse or pony or an animal. People will be born with adult teeth. People will... People will not kiss. Everyone will eat fruit, meat, and vegetables. Every person will live in one city and one country. People are allowed to invite friends over on any day, from Lottie. And then just the last one, when I am mayor, teachers will not growl kids even when they are naughty at school. People will have to teach kids only to do maths, reading, and writing. Gardens will be filled with colourful flowers and beautiful trees that people can climb. All the boys at school will be nice to the girls. Nobody in Gisborne will be mean because lots of kids come home crying, Mom or Dad, this person was mean to me. And people won't end up in hospitals all the time. Don't kill animals. They are beautiful natural things. They are also part of nature. People can buy meat, but just yucky pigs and mean animals. When I am mayor, I will stay mayor. Lottie. There's a whole pack here.
Well
I had a great time.
Our meeting is closed, and we have the CEO appraisal. Yeah. Okay.
1 o'clock.
Oh, well, she can start that sooner.
No, yeah, she can start after our cup of tea.
Yeah.
Tell her to join us for a cup of tea.
Do you want to have a motion?